everyone, I'm Kelsey, and today I'm going to be making a cheddar apple soup. It's been a long day, and so I want something light and refreshing that will both fill up my family and the guests I'm having over for dinner, and leave me with some leftovers for the rest of the week. I'm excited to get started. This soup calls for aged white cheddar. I personally believe that your food should always be delicious and healthy. So because we're making great choices with the Greek yogurt and going light on the olive oil, we can add a whole lot of cheese to this soup and still keep it under 400 calories per serving. First, we're going to cut up our apples. As we're cutting them up, the oven is preheating to 400 degrees. We're going to bake these apples for about 20 to 30 minutes until they're nice and golden before we add them to the soup. Anything roasted always tastes better. While the apples are roasting, we're going to cut up our onion. To minimize tears and make sure you look pretty while you cook, make sure to keep your onion cut side down. Before we put these apples in the oven, we're going to spritz them a little bit with olive oil. Now, this thing is really handy. It's an olive oil spritzer. I measured it out though. I've tested it in one spray, depending on how much you pump it. It's either 1 teaspoon or 1 tablespoon. I'm putting 1 tablespoon. I also am going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. Remember to always measure things like oil out really carefully. I can't tell you how many friends of mine thought they were cooking healthy when really they were eating an oily and calorically filled mess. We are going to add these onions to a very lightly oiled pan, just 1 tablespoon of olive oil again. We're also going to add some garlic to saute. This handy dandy guy comes from Pampered Chef and makes your mincing or chopping of garlic really easy. Now we're adding about 1 teaspoon of thyme into the garlic and olive oil and onions, and we're going to saute all of these for about 5 minutes. After the onion and the garlic is done sauteing, I added some chicken broth. I added 2 cups of chicken broth, and you could of course sub that for veggie broth or even water. I did about half chicken broth with another extra 2 cups of water, and then I decided to add about 1/4 cup of grape juice. I had Manischewitz in the fridge and couldn't decide which to use, but grape juice it was. I think it'd be even better with apple juice, but just to add a little bit of sweetness to the soup, I think the grape juice will do the trick. So it's been about 25 minutes for the apples, and I am now going to add them to the boiling broth. After adding them to the boiling broth, I'm going to let them simmer for another maybe 10-15 minutes before we puree. Now been a few minutes for the apples to simmer in with the broth, and so we are going to use my handy dandy immersion blender. I suggest you get one of these and puree the soup. Now I am going to mix in the yogurt. Again, this is in place of something less healthy like heavy cream. And also mix in the cheese. Now this is about 1 cup of cheese being distributed throughout about 4 bowls. So that's about 4.5–5 ounces. And this is the end product of our soup. I'm going to drizzle just a little bit of maple syrup on top of it. Probably about ½ teaspoon to 1 teaspoon. Leaving us with about 4 to 6 steaming bowls, about 350 to 400 calories apiece to serve up to my guests heading over. But I'm going to taste test first. Yeah. Thanks for cooking with me.